this meeting. I'll begin with our land acknowledgement. On Monday, May 15th, 2023, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to our Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace, friendship, and being mindful of generations to come. So I'll call for any amendments to the agenda this evening. And seeing none, any disclosure of monetary interest arising from this agenda? And seeing none, we have no delegations. We have no adoption of minutes this evening, and I believe we do not have any CEO or director's reports this evening as well.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. No correspondence items. We'll go right to priority issue 7.1. The award of contract 23 PW001 Catherine Street reconstruction report with Director McMunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so the report I have in front of you this evening is fairly straightforward. It's the award of tender for the Catherine Street reconstruction project. We tendered this particular project back in middle of April, and we had a closing date of May 8th, so just a week or so ago. I'm happy to report that we had pretty good interest in this project. We had quite a number of more proponents review the tender documents on bids and tenders through our website, but then we ended up with 5 bidders, which is pretty good, I think, for a project of this scale. You know, we had the regular players, you know, the Thomas Cavanaugh Construction, R.W. Tomlinson, we had Campbell's Trucking, Clarence McDonald Excavating, and KCE Construction Limited. And the prices range from the least amount of just under 4 million up to just a little over 6.5 million. So the first 3 prices, Campbell's Trucking were low at 3.872 million. Clarence McDonald was second at just a little over 4 million at 4,031,000, and then Thomas Cavanaugh Construction at roughly 4.2. So that tells me that there weren't any significant flyers, if you will, on this particular project in terms of bidders. The one price at 6.6 million, we could argue that those prices are a little bit higher than we would have expected, but it's hard to know where that contractor was coming from in terms of bidding this project. Obviously, the bottom 4 from 3.8 to 4.7 were realistic bids. So the recommendation I have in front of you this evening is to award the work to Campbell's Trucking Limited in the amount of 3.872. Sorry, I'll say that again. $3,872,082. That's including HST. Our engineering budget on this project, or what we have approved in our capital budget, is just a little over 4 million at $4,151,545. So there is adequate funds in our capital budget to facilitate this work. We're anticipating, we've already went ahead and we've got the award letter drafted. We've got the agreement drafted, ready to go out tomorrow. Time is a little bit of an essence on this. We were late getting the project out. However, we're well poised right now to get shovels in the ground here in June, which should set us up well to have the project wrapped up by, I would say, mid-November of this fall, which is typical in my experience. Regardless of the size of project, we're usually running into fall work for concrete works and paving. That seems to be typical. Anyways, with that, I'm happy to take any questions. I mean, everybody's aware of the project, Catherine Street from Broadview to Oak Street. We've included a short section of Oak Street for our storm sewer outfall down to Jasper Avenue. So there will be some work on Oak Street. We've already been in communications with the school over there, so we do have provisions for getting their buses in and out in the short term before kids are done school the latter part of June. And then by the time they start back up in September, we expect most of the underground to be completed and working on roads. So we'll work with the school in terms of logistics and getting their people in and around. So that all said, through the chair, I'm happy to take any questions on this report.
Thanks for that. Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly support the recommendation, Director McMahon, and I do want to congratulate you and your team on the estimates that you come up with. It's really great when what you think a project comes in and the bids are all around that number. So I think that predictability and the budgeting really helps. And so thank you for that expert work.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I think that you're going to get support here, Director. Thank you for that. Then we'll get some thumbs up. And that'll come forward immediately after this meeting. And I'll mention that if you come on, under budget by $200,000, that's a good quote. And we'll have hopefully money left aside. I know there's contingency there, but we'll see. We'll pass that in the next meeting. So thank you. Next up is appointment of Chief Building Officer report, and that is with Chief Chesbro. Welcome, Chief.
Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will do my report and then I'll provide the recommendation. The purpose of my report tonight is to seek council's approval to appoint Andrew Willows as our Chief Building Official and bring forward a bylaw to officially appoint Andrew Willows. Section 3.2 of the Building Code Act provides that council of a municipality shall appoint a chief building official and such inspectors as are necessary for enforcement of this act in the areas in which the municipality has jurisdiction. Peter Black graciously accepted the temporary interim position as our chief building official so that we could meet the act. This report will rescind at the conclusion of it through bylaw Peter as the chief building official, but retain Peter as the deputy chief building official. We certainly want to thank Peter for his for stepping up and assisting us in this. And I say that in anticipation that council will support this report. Our budget implications, money exists in the 2023 budget to accommodate this request. We've gone through the consultations, certainly with Peter Black and with our human resources advisor, Nadine Bennett. The existing policy is 3.2 of the Building Code Act, as well as a bylaw being a bylaw to appoint Peter. My recommendation tonight is that council of the corporation of the town of Smith Falls bring forward a bylaw to appoint Andrew Willows as our chief building official for the town of Smith Falls.
Thank you, Chief. Questions, comments? Thumbs up. Jennifer, you had something to say?
Just
Councilor
thank
Miller,
you.
sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chief Chesbro and Nadine for your hard work. I know hiring is a challenge in all roles right now, particularly in this type of role. And if Andrew is listening, welcome to Smith Falls.
Thank you.
I would echo that, and we'll have a thumbs up, and we're really happy. It's a tough job to fill, and we filled it, so that's great. And that'll come forward at the council meeting following this special committee of the whole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We've added one item today, and it's 7.3 25 Old Mill Road heritage considerations with our chief planner, Mr. Granke. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Council. So this report presents the heritage implications regarding the decisions that's going to be facing Council with respect to the water treatment plant, which of course was significantly damaged in a fire last week. So on May 8th, Council determined that the demolition may be necessary based on feedback received by a structural engineer who was retained by the insurer. However, a number of consultations and next steps would need to be confirmed. So the property is designated under the Ontario Heritage Act. It was originally designated in 1977, and just last year, council approved amendments to the bylaw to clarify and reiterate the character defining elements of the entire property, as well as the 4 individual building parts that comprise the complex. So the act prohibits the demolition or removal of any property or any building on the property unless authorized by council. And the act sets out a few things that need to happen first, and that in which case the owner is required to provide certain information on the application, and council shall consult with the Municipal Heritage Committee. The act doesn't define how the Municipal Heritage Committee should be consulted. However, the MHC's role in this case is advisory. The ultimate decision on a demolition is with council. So obviously the circumstances here lead to a rapid action for the safety of the property and the necessity of the stabilization of the property. However, the Heritage Act does not create an exemption to the statutory process. Legal counsel advises that we do still proceed through that process. So to that end, we have assembled the requisite information to complete a heritage application. And we've also contacted the Municipal Heritage Committee and requested feedback. So, and certainly I'd like to echo my appreciation to members of the MHC who've responded very quickly when we reached out to them last Friday. And council can certainly appreciate that this information and all of the discussions leading to this point, of course, have been coming in fast and furious. So we did. The report indicates feedback that we did receive from the chair of the Municipal Heritage Committee, who advised that demolition should not be considered until a licensed heritage structural engineer has reviewed the damage to the buildings and provided recommendations and a cost for the stabilization of the ruins as a possible alternative to demolition. We've also received individual correspondence from several MHC members outlining similar feedback, as well as some MHC members have also provided some interesting examples of where ruins were stabilized and actually became a tourist attraction in their own right. So the report also includes this report also includes as an appendix the heritage bylaw that actually outlines the character defining elements of each of those four properties. So of course, the fire did destroy several of them, including the window features and the flat roof. However, many of the character defining attributes on the old stone building built in 1868, as well as the red brick building from 1881, many of those actually are still in place. Although obviously the structural integrity is in question now, and depending on what happens next. So the official plan, section 4.24 of the official plan, also outlines some considerations for council in considering the demolition and assessing some of the thoughts that would go into that process. Ultimately, those OP sections are ordinarily geared towards development applications where we really have that opportunity to engage in a collaborative and thorough process with the proponents. We don't have that situation here. The timing, of course, is much more condensed, but there is that intent is still presented for consideration. So in this case, if council does agree and determine that a demolition is necessary, the recommendation contained in this report are that a few conditions be established. So council's approval, if demolition is authorized, would be encapsulated in a resolution, and the resolution can include any conditions that council warrants. In this case, staff are recommending 3 conditions. First, that all heritage attributes, character defining elements specific to each building be documented, photographed, and archived in accordance with industry best practices to the extent possible. Secondly, that prior to allowing for the demolition of the stone structure of building 1 or the red brick structure of building 2, the best efforts be explored by a qualified engineer to shore up the walls or otherwise preserve as much of the structure as possible in order to preserve the integrity of the character defining elements identified in the bylaw. And thirdly, if the demolition must proceed in whole or in part, any masonry as well as cornerstones, stone sills, and other heritage attributes that are identified in the bylaw be salvaged to the extent practical and stored in a secure environment in accordance with industry best practices that will allow for their reuse. So it's fair to say that a few of these, we don't really know how that's going to ultimately look like. Our community services department is working with retaining a heritage engineer to potentially investigate these. So ultimately, these are all of these conditions are worded to the extent possible. We're going to do our very best. So if endorsed by council, these conditions would form part of the contract with the company retained to undertake the work. And in the long term, the documentation and salvage of these historical features will assist council staff and a future developer in incorporating the heritage of the property into the new development. So in time, we may be looking at amending the heritage bylaw to reflect the exact or the altered condition of the property, but that's a discussion for another day. So at this point, the recommendation of staff and is a number of conditions if council were to authorize the demolition of the structure, and also we are conveying the feedback from the Municipal Heritage Committee on this matter for council's consideration. So that'll conclude my report, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor McKenna.
Mr. Chair, can I just get clarification on the scope of the discussion we're about to have as it relates to our in-camera meeting last week and perhaps another one tonight? I just want to stay within what's the scope of that discussion, and perhaps the clerk or the CEO could, before I step in and blunder, I want to just be careful. So could I just get some clarity, please?
That's a good question. Good question. And I'll look to CEO or maybe to what?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can address that question. So the Ontario Heritage Act outlines a process if you were to demolish a building, a heritage designated building. So that's what's being contemplated, although it hasn't been decided yet, it's being contemplated. So this was to satisfy the requirements within the Act to consult. So what we're bringing back tonight is a recommendation both from staff in terms of heritage elements that might be retained if demolition proceeds, as well as sharing with you the feedback from the Heritage Committee. So this is meant to inform a path forward. And the two broad paths that are in front of you would be to follow the Heritage Committee's recommendation and seek a second opinion. Or if you decide to demolish, there are certain ways to preserve certain elements of the building. So I think tonight my recommendation would be to simply receive this report as information to inform any future discussions that may occur on this file.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I totally agree. We have to digest the report. And thank you, Carl, for compiling it. But I would, for me, and I'll let my colleagues, of course, chime in. I'm not prepared to say yay or nay on the recommendations before me right now. So, but thank you for the report. Anybody else? I'm sure there will be. Councillor Quinn.
I'm on that page because we just got this report late. And so there is a lot of information in there, good information that we need to go over. And I'm agree. I am not on that stage tonight where I want to say yay or nay. I think we need to take our time. Not that I think it should be delayed for months and months. I don't. But let's take our time and go over this report, and then we can have a good discussion later on, because Carl, you have put a lot of work into that report, a lot of information, and we thank you for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess as a minimum, we're going to do our very best to follow the legislation surrounding this topic of the heritage, and we will do our best to comply with that legislation. So that's all I'll say so far. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree with receiving it for information. I do think that the Municipal Heritage Committee has given some great feedback, and I'd be okay endorsing that part in italics under the analysis and options tonight. I think it was great to get the committee's response so quickly, and it's really impressive, Carl, for you to bring all this together in such a short amount of time. So I'd just like to thank everybody for their active role in the process and the timely responses. But if there was a consensus, I could definitely endorse the part in italics.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? Okay, I'll put it out there. We're just going to receive this report, and the part in italics for me has a cost involved, and I need more information about the actual state of affairs. And we're going to be talking about that, but I would propose we just receive the support at this point. Is everyone okay with that? Thumbs. Any other comments? Okay, thanks, Carl. I mean, we're doing due diligence here, and that's what we're supposed to do. And I appreciate your work, and it's been a short time frame. And I know we received the report later in the day, but it's worth the wait to get the proper information. So thank you. Okay, we can move on. And now we're going to go into an in-camera session. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls, as approved under Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, to move into a closed session at, we'll say, 5:25 to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local board. Can I have a mover? Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Quinn. All in favor? And we'll be back. Good.
Let me just check social media to make sure we're back into.
Okay.
All right, Chair Brennan, anytime you're ready.
Thank you. And we're back from our in-camera session that we discussed the security of a property in the municipality is, and it is on a Mill Road, and the fire discussion that we continue. And council is still considering preserving that property or demolishing it. And we're going to be consulting with appropriate experts and coming back in the very, very near future. And staff has been given direction on to help us out with that matter. So we're back, and that would be the end of the special committee of the whole. And I'll entertain a motion that the committee adjourn its proceedings at 6:12 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called committee meeting. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? There will be a council meeting proceeding forthwith. And a good evening to you all from me.
Mayor Panko, I'll just double check with Sean to see if you wanted to give a couple minutes,
Okay,
people a quick break, and we can. It's 6:13 now. Do you want to aim for maybe 6:15? Does that give?
works for me.
Oh, Sean's put up the council will resume shortly screen.
Okay.
Reminder that mics are still on, though.
Who would like to second the tax rate and policy for the purposes of raising municipal revenues?
Oh, my apologies. Which one is that, Councillor McGuire?
7.1.
7.1.
Sorry, are we waiting for everybody to come back?
We'll fill you when I put you moving that, and Councillor Miller's going to second it.
Okay, thanks.
What am I seconding?
The 7.1, the tax rate bylaw,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, that's the only one you're moving, so,
and Councillor McGuire 7.6.
oh, wait.
Yeah, CIP for Maple Avenue and Russell Street East.
It's also Councillor Miller.
Okay, that's easy for me.
And then Mayor Panko, did you get my message regarding 8.2?
Yes. Robinson has that. Yes. Okay,
So it is
I'm ready to roll whenever.
6:15.
Okay.
So I will just give a warning here that I'm going to count you in. All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. Welcome back to this meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, May 15th, 2023. On May 15th, 2023, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, be mindful of generations to come. I will call the meeting to order. We have regrets from Councillor Brennan, who had to step away this evening. I've got a few proclamations this evening. I'm going to start with Pride Month, June 2023. Whereas the town of Smith Falls supports the rights of every citizen to experience equality and freedom from discrimination. Whereas all people, regardless of race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, marital status, genetic characteristics, or disability, have the right to be treated on the basis of their intrinsic value as human beings. Whereas the town of Smith Falls accepts and welcomes people of diverse backgrounds and believes a diverse population leads to a more vibrant community. And whereas the two-spirited, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and plus 2 LGBTQ plus communities contribute to the cultural, civic, and economic successes of the community. Whereas while we as a society at large are slowly embracing new definitions of sexuality and gender, we must also acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And therefore, to acknowledge the efforts of to bring awareness to the continuing evolution to the 2SL LGBTQ plus Pride movement, the town of Smith Falls will display the rainbow flag representing light, healing, sun, calmness, art, and spirit outside the Memorial Community Center for the month of June. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the town of Smith Falls, to hereby proclaim June 2023 as Pride Month in the town of Smith Falls and encourage our residents to reflect on the ongoing struggle for equality members of the 2SL LGBTQ plus community face and to celebrate the contributions that enhance our municipality. Also, I want to have a proclamation related to Police Week, May 14th to 20th, building bridges, celebrating police community partnerships. Whereas Police Week is celebrated as a way for police to connect with their community and increase awareness about the services they provide. And whereas police services across Ontario and nationwide celebrate Police Week annually to honor and thank the work that frontline police officers, 911 communicators, civilian staff, and all members of the Ontario Police Services do to keep Ontarians safe and healthy. Whereas the Smith Falls Police Service has provided excellent professional and friendly policing to residents of Smith Falls since 1887. Whereas the role and objectives of police service in our community include deterring criminal activity, improving road safety, ensuring criminal incident, major event and emergency preparedness, protecting vulnerable members of the community, developing partnerships that focus on prevention and increasing public education. Therefore, be resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the town of Smith Falls, do hereby proclaim the week of May 14th to 2023 as Police Week in the town of Smith Falls. And just so you know, I think it's 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 17th. It's coffee with a cop at Starbucks. And in addition to that, I believe the Police Services Appreciation Barbecue at the Police Service Friday at 11:30 for Police Week. So I had an opportunity to go out and have coffee with a cop, connect with our police service. Great opportunity to see how these wonderful people look after our community. And finally, National Accessibility Week, May 28th to June 3rd, 2023. Whereas throughout Canada in each year, the week starting on the last Sunday in May is to be known as National Accessibility Week, and is an opportunity to promote inclusion and accessibility in our communities and workplaces, to celebrate our progress and to be inspired to further break down accessibility barriers. And whereas many Ontarians live with some form of disability, and as a result, there's a need for greater awareness, enhanced service delivery, and opportunities for persons with disabilities. And whereas individuals with disabilities are impacted daily by barriers to information, facilities, employment, transportation, and communication supports, therefore negatively challenging an individual's ability to fully participate in community life. Whereas accessibility and inclusion are essential for ensuring that all community members have equity and opportunities and the ability to fully participate in community life. Whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls is committed to accessibility and has an accessibility advisory committee to play a pivotal role in helping the town of Smith Falls become a barrier-free community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smith Falls, do hereby proclaim May 28th to June 3rd, 2023 as National Accessibility Week and encourage everyone to support equality for access and opportunity for persons with disabilities in the town of Smith Falls. And that's it for my proclamations. I have no further announcements. I will ask for disclosure of monetary interest. I see none. We have no delegations. We do have adoption of minutes, which is with Councillor McKenna, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McGuire, that the minutes of May 1st, 2023 council meeting be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor McGuire that the minutes of the May 1st, 2023 council meeting be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Reports. Councillor Quinn, you're up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a report from Real, and they had their pitch-in week that was very successful. They have been doing pitch-in week for 56 years. That's quite an accomplishment for sure. Some of the groups that participated was the Perth and Smith Falls Hospital, Smith Falls Scouts, WAC, the youth group, Church of Latter-day Saints, Smith Falls High School, Chimo School, plus town staff. But there was many others that were out and picking up, and they did a total count at the moment is 372 pounds of garbage and debris that they picked up during pitch-in week. One of the things they asked, I cleaned up along the water by my place, and they asked what the most unusual thing that you found as you were cleaning. And I said, a pair of shoes. Sometimes we find one shoe, but this time I found a pair of shoes. Not quite sure why, what happened, but anyways, found a pair of shoes. And on Saturday, May the 13th, it was Clear the Attic sale at the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario, and Real attended with a nice display, and people that came and talked to Real at their display got a coupon for 15% off to go across the street and make a purchase. And I guess it was quite successful. People were having a great time getting their 15% off. So it's just showing two different entities working together to promote one another. And they're talking about other things that they can do together. It's fabulous. Saturday, May the 27th, they're having a fundraiser, and it is rain barrels and gardens. They're bringing in native plants. So they're having a fundraising that day. So please stop by and support them. That's my report. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for the reports. Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Your Worship. You and I attended Lanark County Council meeting last Wednesday. It ran for unprecedented for me, 5 hours. It was a very interesting meeting. I'll just talk about the Community Services Committee. I'd let you know that Lanark Lodge has adopted a new 5-year strategic plan. I encourage people to look on the website and see it. They're very forward-thinking organization and doing very well. In spite of a severe lack of staffing, they can't find people to work in those jobs and would love people to apply. A lot of the discussion was on housing, as it should be. And in particular, the Wardens Caucus of Eastern Ontario went into a little more detail of their strategy called 7 and 7, 7,000 affordable homes in 7 years throughout the counties of Eastern Ontario. It's been, the business case is being written. There's a lot of energy and interest, both at the federal, provincial, and local level. And that details of those, of that plan are on the county website. And Mary, you'll have to help me. The number designated for, let's say, Lanark, Leeds, Grenville, It's escaping me right
Yeah,
now.
I think it was 336 for Lanark County over the 7 years, or about
Yeah.
48 a year.
Thank you. And finally, as our Ontario Works or social, the formerly welfare, is being continued to be updated by the province, one of the roles of the Ontario Works staff at the county is not only to take the application, but it's also to help people get employment ready and work on employment skills. That whole part of that job is being transferred to the Ministry of Labor and Skills Development at the province. So I don't know if it's 30% of the workers' job, but it's a significant amount. And the other part is all applications for Ontario Works are online now. And again, the province is taking that over. So there will be some, and through attrition, there will be some staffing changes at the county. And the focus will be on a more generic role for those workers to help people living in those very difficult situations find their way out of that level of poverty, because it's $700 for a single person a month. So the workers will be really focusing on helping those individuals find a better quality of life. And there happens to be, speaking of that, there happens to be a discussion tomorrow night in Perth on basic income guarantee put on by a local and regional group. And so it seems to be it's a resurgence of interest coming out of the pandemic on guaranteed annual income or basic income guarantees. So there's a public discussion tomorrow night at 7, and you can reach out to me for details. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Further reports? Yes, Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to thank the Rideau Roundtable for hosting a canoe workshop in Laurel Reach Park this weekend. It was on Saturday. Max Fickelstein's a really accomplished Canadian paddler, and if you Google him, you can find out all kinds of exciting adventures he's been on and things he's accomplished. But he was leading us, and happy to say I learned the difference between a pry and a J-stroke, and I'm working on my J-stroke this summer. So thank you to everybody at the Rideau Roundtable.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a couple of reports myself. Just to bring council up to date briefly, we have ongoing discussions with the Flying Club regarding the operating agreement. We met on May 3rd. Of course, that agreement involves both the Smith Falls Flying Club, Montague Township, and the town of Smith Falls. So discussions are progressing very well. I'm confident we'll soon have any issues ironed out and a new agreement in place. On May 10th, along with many other members of council, our people from our police and fire service, members of the community, I participated in McHappy Day. McHappy Day served as a fundraiser for Ronald McDonald House located at the CHEO campus. It supports a long planned $22 million addition that will add 24 new family suites to this vital facility. So thank you to Carter Foods, the staff, volunteers, and I had the opportunity to work the drive-through window, and it was a lot of fun seeing the people come through. And I worked the noon shift, and I can tell you it's a busy spot nonstop. So it was a great day for Ronald McDonald House, great fundraisers from McHappy Day. Like Councillor McKenna indicated, we attended County Council Corporate and Community Services Committee meetings on last Wednesday, May 10th. A couple of comments I'll make. One, we had a great report by Treasurer Kevin Wills and Dillon Consulting on the Lanark County Asset Management Plan. And overall, it's a very telling report indicating that most of the county's assets are in better than average condition. The county's doing a good job managing the maintenance, rehabilitation, and replacements of its assets. There's a regulatory tool that must be approved by council by July 1st, 2024, and includes the current levels of service and the cost of maintaining the services for all infrastructure assets, as well as a forecasted budget for rehabilitation replacement every year. Identifies assets of $517 million, including over $86 million in social housing stock. And it would be these assets, along with, I guess, Lanark Lodge and emergency services, that would be the most relevant to our town, considering our shared services agreement with the county. And the report indicates, on the social housing front, the report indicates the majority of the units almost 70% are in fair condition, with some, I think approximately 10 units considered to be in poor condition. And some units would be considered beyond their normal lifespan, with numerous others in need of major rehabilitation or replacement in the coming years. So many of the units rated high risk in the risk assessment are their homes in Smith Falls. And the high risk assessment relates to a poor condition rating, well-being of high importance, of course, because people are living there, and moderate performance. And risk is calculated based on the likelihood of failure and the consequence of that failure. So it's important. It was a great insight into the asset of these, the condition of these assets. And I think the county will be developing a plan to further accelerate, hopefully, the rehabilitation and someday replacement of these social housing units. And as Councillor McKenna indicated, the committee also received a report from East Ontario Mayor's Caucus Warden's Caucus about the regional housing plan called 7 and 7. And that, as I mentioned, will lead to a 336, recommending 336 new social housing units to be built in Leonard County in the next 7 years. So at 48 a year, that would be a significant increase above the current forecasted amount in the 10-year housing and homelessness plan. And housing has been at the forefront at the county level for the past several years, and these reports indicate how important it is and that it needs to remain a key priority. On May 12th, I participated in the meeting of the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus in Belleville. Peter Iman, who is the chair of the Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus, was in attendance. He was in Perth on Wednesday for the meeting there, and then he was in Belleville on Friday to bring the mayors up to date on the work of the EOWC, including the 7 and 7 initiative. And the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus had a lengthy discussion on priorities for this term of council, with a focus on prioritizing issues with ministerial delegations at the August meeting of the Association of Municipalities in Ontario. So I'll be able to bring more information on that in future meetings. And that's it for my reports. Anything further, Councillor Miller?
So I just wanted to chime in and remind residents of the opening of the artisan market at Maple and William. Their grand opening is Wednesday from 4 to 6, I believe, and I'm doing this from memory, but I would encourage everyone to go. And just as to put a bug in the ear, 2 events coming up in June. The Chamber is hosting their annual Rib Fest, and the Downtown Business Association is hosting a night market. So I'll bring more details about those 2 events at our next council meeting.
Super, thank you. Anything further? Okay, moving on into our agenda. Oh, sorry, Councillor McKenna, you had something to add?
Well, sorry, Your Worship, I was with my colleagues at the water treatment plant on Friday for a lovely barbecue celebrating their 10th anniversary. And I did survive one of Councillor Robinson's hot dogs. So he was doing a great job, and I was no worse for wear after eating it.
Super. Here's a good man with a barbecue. That's great. Thank you. Okay, moving into our bylaws. Councillor McGuire, you have our first bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller that a bylaw to establish tax rates and policies for the purposes of raising the general municipal revenues on the year 2023 and to impose the final 2023 tax levy on all properties within the town of Smith Falls be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McGuire and seconded by Councillor Miller. That a bylaw to establish tax rates and policies for the purposes of raising the general municipal revenues on the year 2023 and to impose the final 2023 tax levy on all properties within the town of Smith Falls be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor McGuire?
Yeah, so we do this under section 312 of the Municipal Act. 50% of the levy is payable on the 30th day of June 2023, and the remainder will be due the 31st day of August 2023. Personally, I like the 10 equal payments that come right out of my bank account, which is a great option provided by staff. And other than that, there's no real new information that hasn't been discussed through the budget. So
thank you. Any further discussion on this? May I have a third reading, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller that a bylaw to establish tax rates and policies for the purposes of raising the general municipal revenues on the year 2023 and to impose a final 2023 tax levy on all properties within the town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10447-2023.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor McGuire and seconded by Councillor Miller that a bylaw to establish tax rates and policies for the purposes of raising the general municipal revenues of the year 2023 and to impose the final 2023 tax levy on all properties within the town of Smiths Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10447-2023. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Councillor Quinn, you're up next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario respecting municipal grant funding be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It was moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson. The bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario respecting the municipal grant funding be received read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Quinn?
This is just providing some funding for the museum so that they can continue to do the great job that they are doing. This year is difficult because they did not receive funding for hiring summer students. So this kind of funding from the town of Smiths Falls certainly is greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a third reading, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario respecting municipal grant funding be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10428-2023.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario respecting municipal grant funding be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10428-2023. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Robinson, you have the next bylaw.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Smiths Falls and District Chamber of Commerce respecting municipal grant funding be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor Quinn, the bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Smiths Falls and District Chamber of Commerce respecting municipal grant funding be received read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Robinson?
This is very similar to the Railway Museum. It's a result of the second request for municipal grant funding. The request is due to the Chamber of Commerce being denied federal summer student funding subsequent to their initial request in January. So it's just their second request.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll just say it's unfortunate because this really becomes a form of downloading the cutbacks at the federal level for under the summer student program really led the town to have to allocate our desired and certainly willing partner to support these organizations for hiring summer students to ensure they can provide the services that our town needs and our visitors need. It hasn't happened in the past in this manner. It's unfortunate it has to happen now, but I'm pleased council is doing the right thing here. So maybe the third reading, please.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Quinn that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Smiths Falls and District Chamber of Commerce respecting municipal grant funding be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10429-2023.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor Quinn that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Smiths Falls and District Chamber of Commerce respecting municipal grant funding be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10429-2023. All in favor? And that is carried as well. Thank you. And 7.4, Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Business Association respecting municipal grant funding be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor McKenna that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Business Association respecting municipal grant funding be received, read a first time, and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Miller?
Yes, thank you. This request came from the DBA, and it's to support 5 downtown events that they're planning on hosting throughout the year. The money is going to be used to help with their promotional needs, so we're very happy to help.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Third reading, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Business Association respecting municipal grant funding be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10450-2023.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor McKenna that a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Business Association respecting municipal grant funding be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10450-2023. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Quinn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute funding agreements under programs 13 and 14 of the Smith Falls Community Improvement Program be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute funding agreements under programs 13 and 14 of the Smith Falls Community Improvement Plan be received read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Quinn?
This is funding that we delegate to different businesses to try to help them with their business, to keep things looking nice and helping their businesses to grow. And so these particular businesses were approved. There were a couple that weren't approved, and I really encourage them to come back and apply again and work with staff so that they're within the right criteria for what is required.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, third reading, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute funding agreements under programs 13 and 14 of the Smith Falls Community Improvement Program be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10541-2023.
Thank you. And for anyone interested in seeing which businesses, organizations receive funding, it was in last week's committee of the whole meeting report. Okay, it is moved by Councillor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute funding agreements under programs 13 and 14 of the Smith Falls Community Improvement Program be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10451-2023. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Item 7.6, Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute community improvement program funding agreements for the 2 properties be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor McGuire and seconded by Councillor Miller that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute community improvement program funding agreements for 2 properties be received, read a first time, and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor McGuire?
Yeah, so the 2 properties are 12 Maple Avenue, the Artisan Market on the corner of William and Maple, that's having the open house on Wednesday from 4 to 6, and that's for windows. And I think they're also going to be putting the mural back up that was installed in a previous CIP application under a previous owner. And the other one's at 15 Russell Street East, the Lighthouse Cafe. It's right beside the Durant's parking lot on the right side if you're looking towards it. And that's for planters and new signage and new lighting, and it should really spruce up that part of town. So 2 great applications.
Thank you. Anything further? May I have a third reading, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute community improvement program funding agreements for 2 properties be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10452-2023.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor McGuire and seconded by Councillor Miller that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute community improvement program funding agreements for 2 properties be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10452-2023. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now I want to circle back to the start of the agenda. I failed to add and get council's agreement to item 7.7, appointment of a CBO that came out of our committee of the whole meeting, as well as item 7.8, the Catherine Street reconstruction, which also came out of the committee of the whole meeting. I believe, Councillor Quinn, you have item 7.7 first.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to appoint Andrew Willows as the chief building official for the town of Smith Falls be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to appoint Andrew Willows as a chief building official for the town of Smith Falls be received, read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Quinn?
This is good news. Good news. We have been struggling with a building official. And so it's wonderful to have somebody here on board with us on a full-time basis. And Peter Black, who was here with us, is still here. He will be the deputy chief. So we're well covered. Well covered. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? May I have a third reading, please?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to appoint Andrew Willows as the chief building official for the town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10452-2023.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to appoint Andrew Willows as the chief building official for the town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10452-2023. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And our final bylaw is with Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to award contract 23-PW-001 for Catherine Street reconstruction. That's Broadview Avenue to Oak Street, and Oak Street, which is Brockville Street to Jasper Avenue, to Campbell's Trucking Limited, and to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute a contract agreement with Campbell's Trucking for the amount of $3,872,082, excluding HST, be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to award contract 23-PW-001 for Catherine Street reconstruction, Broadview Avenue to Oak Street, and Oak Street, Brockville Street to Jasper Avenue, to Campbell's Trucking Limited, and to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a contract agreement with Campbell's Trucking Limited for the amount of $3,872,082, excluding HST, be received read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Miller.
Thank you. So this is our next major reconstruction project in Smith Falls. It's going to be on Catherine Street. It'll include underground infrastructure, road reconstruction, sidewalks, accessibility features, and landscaping. So this bylaw sees the contract awarded to Campbell's Trucking, who happened to be the lowest bidder on the project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to award contract 23-PW-001 for Catherine Street reconstruction, which is Broadview Avenue to Oak Street, and Oak Street from Brockville Street to Jasper Avenue, to Campbell's Trucking Limited, and to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute a contract agreement with Campbell's Trucking for the amount of $3,872,082, excluding HST, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10453-2023.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Good news.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to award contract 23-PW-001 for Catherine Street reconstruction, Broadview Avenue to Oak Street, and Oak Street from Brockville Street to Jasper Avenue, to Campbell's Trucking Limited, and to authorize the mayor and clerk and to execute a contract agreement with Campbell's Trucking Limited for the amount of $3,872,082, excluding HST. We now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed and numbered 10453-2023. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. That's it for our bylaws. We have a few motions. Our first is with Councillor Robinson, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls receive the 2023 Utilities Quarterly Report number 1 from January, February, and March for information.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
It's just a quarterly report that was given to us by Jason Barlow at our last meeting, and it was an update on how the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant was operating.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor Quinn. The Council of the Corporation of Town of Smiths Falls received the 2023 Utilities Quarterly Report number 1 for January, February, March for information. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor Robinson, you also have the next motion.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls deny the application for 23 Beckwith Street North under Program 13 of the Smiths Falls Community Improvement Plan, as per the recommendation of the Community Improvement Program Working Committee.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
This is on Beckwith Street. They had proposed window frosting, 80% of the window for privacy on the inside with black, I believe it was black vinyl lettering on the outside, but it was felt that it didn't meet the requirement.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, moved by Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor McKenna. The Council of the Corporation of Town of Smiths Falls denied the application for 23 Beckwith Street North under Program 13 of the Smiths Falls Community Improvement Plan as per recommendation of the Community Improvement Program Working Committee. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8.3, Councillor McKenna.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls appoint the following applicants to various boards and committees for 2022, 2026 term of council, or until new appointments are made by a resolution. Accessibility Committee, Corey Agnew, Courtney Price, Heidi Trick, Jennifer Brown, Lucy Bingley, Stephanie Cates. Climate Action Working Group, Susan Brandon, Daniel Schufelt, Peter Au, and Steve Gauthier.
Thank you. And further discussion, please.
We are delighted that our community is stepping up again, qualified volunteers to sit on our various committees and advisory boards. And this is a wonderful cross-section of individuals perfectly qualified to meet the requirements of both of these working groups.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It is moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor Miller. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls appoint the following applicants to various boards and committees for the 2022-2026 term of council or until new appointments are made via resolution. Accessibility Advisory Committee, Corey Agnew, Courtney Priest, Heidi Trick, Jennifer Brown, Lucy Bingley, Stephanie Cates. Climate Action Working Group, Susan Brandon, Danielle Schufelt, Peter Au, and Steve Gauthier. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor Quinn, you have our final piece of business tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Robinson, that Mayor Sean Panko and Councillor Peter McKenna be appointed to the Climate Action Working Group as the council representatives for the remainder of this term of council.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I just think you're going to have lots of work ahead of you. I hope you're ready. And you're very capable of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson, the Mayor Sean Panko and Councillor Peter McKenna be appointed to the Climate Action Working Group as a council representative for the remainder of this term of council. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any inquiries or announcements? No trivia tonight?
I think I volunteered.
Yep. Do you have it ready?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a two-part question. Smith Falls used to be home to 3 carbonated beverages bottling plants. So what did they bottle and where were they originally located? One of them moved.
Councillor McKenna.
Councillor McKenna.
Well, I'm going to take a stab here. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and ginger ale.
Yeah. Canada Dry. Now, where were they?
Canada Dry. The first one, I'll stick with Coca-Cola, was on Old Mill Road in the town-owned building. The second, Pepsi, I'm assuming was still on Abbott, but across the street where Performance Printing is.
Yeah.
And the third one, I haven't got a clue.
Anybody else know? You were that's very good. The Canada Dry plant was on the corner of Condi and Alexander. Yeah, there was a sawmill thing there at a later date, and I believe Steve Blair's company was in there as well. Anyway, but yeah, that was pretty good. When I looked up that information in a 1955 government carbonated beverages review, the address for the original Coke plant was actually 10 Maple Avenue, which is where the Artisan Market is. I thought it was just down at the end of Strathcona Street, but that might have been where they stored stuff. But it said 10 Maple. So anyway, very good.
Before our time. Thank you. Volunteers for 2 weeks from now? Councilor McGuire, you got it. Thank you. Okay, any other inquiries or announcements? No. Oh, Councilor McKenna.
Just wishing everyone a happy long weekend and safe, and we'll be back in these chairs on Tuesday.
Thank you. And you also have adjournment.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McGuire that this council adjourn its proceedings at 6:58 and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor McKenna and seconded by Councilor McGuire. This council adjourned proceedings at 6:58 p.m. and stands so adjourned on next duly called meeting of council.